Hello and welcome to our extra Christmassy setup here. It's very festive in here, very festive. The other day I was talking to my older sister Ariel, who volunteers at a high school in San Francisco, working with kids who have just moved to the United States. And she was asking me what she could do for her students who are interested in science but may not really know where to start. And that inspired today's holiday gift guide for the young scientist in your life. And the first thing on my list is books. I know that might seem obvious, but there are a couple of specific ones I have in mind. One of my favorites is Letters to a Young Scientist by E.O. Wilson. This book is really special because it's by one of the most eminent biologists in the world, and he talks about his struggles as a young biologist, what inspired him to become a scientist, his childhood, his experiences, and how they formed him as a scientist. He also talks about the things that he's not very good at, like math. There's a whole chapter in that book on battling the feeling that you're not good at math. It's a pretty easy read. It's a great intimate personal account of one scientist's journey through his career, and it contains a lot of useful information for, you guessed it, young scientists. Two other general science books that I've really been enjoying this year are 7 Brief Lessons in Physics, which is just a really short, easy read. It's a pop science account of physics and how it works in our everyday world and how we encounter it in our everyday lives. And that's special because sometimes I feel like physics is left out of pop science accounts like that in ways that biology isn't. But speaking of biology, one of my other favorite picks from this year is called The Biology Book, going through the history of the biological field from the very beginning to now. It happens to be a present from aforementioned wonderful sister. Thanks, Ariel. Lots of pictures, lots of photographs, lots of context to put science in, which I think is really cool, and I highly recommend it. Books don't just have to be about the science though. Some of the other books that I would really recommend are books about the people in science, because obviously it's important to see yourself in the field you want to go into. A couple of my faves are called Women in Science, an illustrated Who's Who. That book's amazing illustrations walk you through the history of science and the important women who contributed to it. And that's something that often gets left out of traditional textbooks. Another one that I have been loving is something called The Amazing Adventures of Lovelace and Babbage, which is actually a graphic novel. It tells the story of Ada Lovelace and Charles Babbage, who together are widely credited with writing the first computer program that was used in a computing machine. It's really funny, really well illustrated, and very accurate to history. This would be a really great way to engage someone in the history of science, and computer science, no less, which is definitely a field that could benefit from more diversity and is actually really surprisingly kid-friendly, as exemplified by my next suggestion, which is an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi. These little guys are basically microcomputers that are programmable to do simple tasks. So it's a really fun way to introduce someone to the physics of circuit boards and electricity and conductivity, as well as to some basic programming. These kits usually come with like a programming book with little tasks to do that walk you through step by step, and they're a really fun thing to do in a group or as a school activity or with your kid. Something else that's really important and exciting is going to an event together. So for example, in the States there's something called Expanding Your Horizons, which is where school-aged kids can go to a conference hosted by various science professionals who are giving out workshops, and they just get a little more hands-on experience with science. It's specifically aimed to get young girls more involved in science, but I think everyone is invited, so it's a great thing to send your kid to. So if you look up something like that happening in your area, a lot of them are free, and it's a great way to show the young scientists in your life that you support them, you're excited about what they're excited about, and you want to do sciencey things together. And speaking of that, we're now at the part of the list where the things I'm going to say aren't necessarily things that you can give at Christmas, but that you can give all year round, anytime, to anyone. And that is mostly support and encouragement. So whether that's help with homework or support for a science project or just listening to them talk about what they're excited about, it validates their interest. It makes them feel like someone supports them and can see them going on to continue to do this. This includes fostering curiosity, so asking questions together, making sure that no child or young adult feels like asking a question is a bad thing, making sure that they don't feel defeated by questions that they can't answer. And this last one is maybe the most important, but may require a little more effort. Role models. If you have a university or a research institution or a lab nearby, check out if they have a mentoring program. And if you work in a school, see if there is a mentoring program set up for people in the area who can volunteer to mentor young people who are interested in science, technology, engineering, and math. If you can think of something really cool that you would get a young scientist in your life, leave it down in the description below. If you have any thoughts on the things that I suggested, please let me know. Thanks so much to my sister Ariel for the question and for reaching out on behalf of her students. I know she cares a lot about them, and that's really cool. Go ahead and like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to this channel for new videos every week. I hope the holiday season is finding you in good spirits, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye. Ba, ba, da, ba, 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 ba.